Thank you. Hello and welcome to the Dagnabbit Boys podcast. Shane is currently in Austin, so we are joined by stand-up.
I'm Shane Bianchi-er. It's nice to meet you. Hi, Dagnabbit Boys listeners. I'm Shane Bianchi-er. I'm like Shane Bianchi, but even more like him.
We got Double Shane on the podcast, also known as stand-up comedian, podcaster, and LA clown, Dan Donohue.
I grew up in a boot.
So we just like to do something before we start. The podcast is just how we start most episodes. Can you just read that out loud for me?
I'm not gonna do that.
Why?
You do it.
Why don't you want to read it?
I respect it too much. Whatever that says, I respect it too much, and I don't want to make defamation on the podcast.
Well, if you respect it, you could just read it.
I would rather you read it so I can get a feel for it, and then maybe I'll read it out.
I read it every single podcast. I have no problem reading it.
No, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so. Washhadu ana ilaha illa Allah washhadu ana muhammadan ras Allah.
Okay.
It's not a big deal. Just read it.
You did it so beautifully, I just can't do it.
I think you should read it.
I really don't think I can.
Why don't you want to say the shit out on the podcast?
Is someone going to get mad at me?
Nobody's going to get mad at you. Who would be mad at
so scared.
Who would be mad at you for becoming Muslim?
I don't know. Well, it makes you become Muslim?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not going to do it.
Why not? You got to say it to get into Mecca?
Because you can't half-step, dude.
That's how we start the podcast.
If I was to read that, I would have to start living with the pillars, and I can't do that. I can't do that right now. I'm a touring stand-up comedian.
You can totally do it as a touring stand-up comedian.
Yeah, but you'd have to be like the touring stand-up. You have to be like kind of a bad Muslim to do it.
I don't think so.
For me...
Allah sees and he knows, and you're pure of heart. So just read it, and then we can start the fucking podcast, because otherwise... everybody's going to be watching this being like, well, Dan didn't read the Shahada. It's weird.
What's it called?
The Shahada, it's what you say to become Muslim.
Why did you write it down?
Because I got to use my phone to record, so I can't read it off the phone. I was going to read it off the phone, but I can't. It feels good to write, too. You feel so much better after you write it.
Yeah, I feel like writing it is even more powerful.
Feels great to write. I keep this on me at all times.
Now, we were talking to our friend Ahmed, and he asked you if you're going to convert to Islam. Is that a possibility for you, Cooper?
No, I would be a bad Muslim.
Yeah.
I don't have a strong enough faith in God. And I don't know, I've been on a...
That's the thing, is you also have to have a faith in God.
Yeah. I've been on a great journey of finding a lot of virtue in secularism that I think most people, when they don't believe in God, just sort of like disavow. But if you try and look at everything, I don't like to say the word factual because it makes you sound like an asshole, but if you look at things like brass tacks, like the world is absolutely beautiful. That like all these things have coincided to come together to make like the earth we live on and then who we are as people. And if you get into like neurobiology and then like evolution and then like the evolution of the universe, like there's so much beauty there that if God isn't there, it's actually like amazing. Because you're like, wow, like this convalescence of like happenings and like it's all sort of by chance. Like that's how I understand gratitude the most.
Right.
Is like that book I was reading about how there's like no free will. Mostly it's just a book about like the evolution of like your behavior and belief systems and everything. And when you kind of think of yourself like not as your own creation, but the creation of like the world around you, your environment, your ancestors, your womb. Like it's really beautiful how everything comes into making you. Well, your mom's womb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I think about that a lot, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's like amazing.
I feel like hers must have been nice because I feel like I came out pretty comfortable with everything I needed.
You seem pretty solid.
Yeah, I think that womb was nice.
I mean, is your mom like a pretty calm person?
Calm. That's a good question. I guess she is kind of calm. She's like, she has completely undiagnosed ADHD in a way that's like insane. So she's always doing two things.
Yeah, that's fine. That's like workable. It's just, it's like people don't think about like, oh, if your mom was poor, then your womb had a lot of like stress hormones in it. And then
I feel like mine had a salt lamp.
Yeah, that's great.
A couple other guys hanging out there that were like nice.
Yeah. There's a few guys in there coming in and out, checking things out, saying hello, saying how you doing.
They had like beards. They used to be hippies, but now they're kind of just like dudes who hang out.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, all that stuff is like amazing to think about. And there's this weird belief and I don't really call myself an atheist, but there's this weird belief that if you're like an atheist, you like believe in nothing. And it's like, no, I think you believe in the world. You believe in like chaos and coincidence and how everything is so special because you die, and after you die, there's nothing. Like, I can't think of a more special life than a life that doesn't exist before or after the world we live in. Like, that's so special. That's amazing. That's beautiful, you know? And I'm not saying the idea of God and heaven like is not beautiful. I understand why people think that's beautiful. It just doesn't appeal to me. And so I wouldn't really be acting in good faith if I professed any kind of faith.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really think about it a lot, to be honest with you, and my life is also fine.
Yeah, you can do that too.
I have a vague spirituality about things, but that doesn't really connect to any. I think my conception of faith just ends with kind of like a vague morality that I came up with.
What do you mean? I mean, I guess it's kind of. I feel like you're being honest about like how most people live, right?
Probably.
Yeah. Well, because I think it's like life is kind of all the attempt. Like you kind of come in with nothing and you leave with nothing. So the only thing that matters is like the effort with which you put into anything. So like everything that you think you're trying to build up and become some sort of destination.
Now it's really funny that you started this podcast with such a direct bit.
Yeah.
And immediately are going into life. Life is all about the attempt.
That's the podcast.
Right.
That's the podcast.
Like I thought, when you started with that bit, I was like, oh, me and Cooper are gonna be silly and do the silly.
We will. That goes in and out.
and then it's directly beelined into life is all about the attempt.
Well, that's the whole podcast. You open the door with bits, and then the door is also open to pontification. I mean, you've met Shane and me. It goes in and out. You don't. Too many people want to pick us out. Oh, the whole podcast is a bit. The whole podcast is serious. That's silly. That's not human.
Right. No,
it's unnatural.
Human is how you and Shane talk.
We're the most. I think me and Shane are the most human people you'll ever meet. You go, these guys are human. These guys have feelings, and I am fully aware of all of them.
The reason I know you guys aren't aliens is because I was like, aliens would do a better job trying to like quantify a human being.
Yeah, if there's one thing me and Shane have in common, it is a complete misunderstanding of why most people do things and act the way they do. Like people that like act right, and I guess I don't know. We're just not good at that.
Sure. Well, there is no acting right is the thing. It's just like but you both, here's why you're both similar. Is you both had really bad impulse control problems, and now you have that first layer of cushioning, which is you both still have impulse control problems, but there's a little bit of space between your impulses and your actions. But that space isn't necessarily cushioned enough to stop you guys from still acting a little psycho sometimes.
Yeah. Well, you see people that act, so pleasant all the time, and they don't seem fulfilled.
It's funny. I was doing a recording yesterday, and not for, it was like a Sirius XM recording, and I realized no one in the green room was drinking.
Yeah.
You know me. I don't drink really.
Yeah.
And I cranked 2 beers, dude. I cranked 2 beers. I was going up at the end of the lineup.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think this is where I take the baton. Because all my friends were crazy and I was the sane one. We're flipping it. I'm about to turn 30. We're flipping it. We're about to see bad Dan.
Oh, this is like a big life change.
I'm going bad Dan, dude.
Okay.
I'm going to start cranking cigarettes. I'm going to start drinking beers.
Yeah.
I'm going to start acting like an irresponsible 20-year-old. And here's the thing about being in your 30s and acting like that. People really like it.
Yeah, because it's usually when people start to
even out,
disavow those things.
Fuck that.
But you have kind of started off with the disavowing of those things, which has then built up this wonderment. Well, what is that
now
like?
I'm ready to partake.
And now, it's good you don't have most people have families when this happens, and they kind of ruin the family.
Well, I have a career to ruin now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But luckily it's not like you're still ascending in the career.
And I do mean that what I'm about to say, I do mean sincerely. we have now in stand-up comedy gone too far in the making it a business, and I really do feel that way. And I think you should be more. I think, like, if you're sober because you had like whatever drinking problems stuff, 1000%.
Sure.
If you're like me and you're a guy who can drink a beer, stand-up up it.
Yeah.
Get drunk in a green room.
I mean, yeah.
Go on stage and forget your jokes. This is bullshit. I'm tired of this. This. Everybody is just going up, and it's all a business, and we're all our own like CEOs and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm cranking beers now.
Yeah. I mean, that has been my perspective on the whole thing of like, I am never going to be able to make this a good business. So I'm just going to do what I do. And if that is liked, then it just becomes a business.
Right.
And you see the most successful guys and like, it's like, oh, how do you have like a Come Town or like a Mad and Shane's, or like, how do you have these guys that have like very low effort podcasts become so big? It's like, because their perspective caught with the zeitgeist. So you just do whatever your perspective is, and if the zeitgeist is aligned with you, then you get to be really famous for 5 years and then sell out clubs for the rest of your life.
I think those podcasts are FBI funded.
And I hope so.
CIA psyop to get young white men to stop thinking and just calling everything gay.
I mean, maybe it's a better world if we are just calling everything gay.
I
don't know.
Psyop, dude. You need to expand your mind. Start calling things different stuff.
But yeah, I mean, people
start calling things other things than gay.
Start calling stuff beautiful.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you see some people who are so direct in the business of being a stand-up comedian, and it's like, that sucks so much. Where you're just like, just stop it.
There's a level
Enough.
to it. I was talking about this on a podcast I did really bad on, but they were like they called it networking. They said they use like the word networking, like I'm going to go to this place and network.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I've always, and I think you should be, completely turned off of that and think that that's disgusting.
100%.
It's like,
it is.
It's worse than calling someone like ugly is to say I'm networking with you. Because at least if you're like, oh, I talked to this ugly guy, at least you're like, I talked to him.
He's
you know
a human.
What I mean? He's a person.
He's an ugly person.
Yeah, he's an ugly person.
And you observed them.
But now I'm like, I'm always coming around where it's like, I would rather you call it at least then I know to never talk to you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, I would rather, if someone came up to me and they were like, oh, hi, I'd like to network with you. I respect that more than someone came up to me and was like, hi, but that's what they wanted to do.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think it's like this thing where there's a lot of people that are just accepting that some things are bad and surface level and not even trying to fight it. We're like, this has always been a business where we're turning humans into numbers. You know what I mean? Of like turning, you're not your name anymore, your talent, you're a business, you're a moneymaker. But I think that's always something to disavow. Like, you should never embrace it. And you see a lot of people embracing it of like, oh, well, like the new generation is like, well, this is a business. You got to post clips. You got to quantify your material.
Money, yeah, get the bag.
Get your, like, that makes me really sad when everybody's like, who cares? Get your money. And you should be like, no, but you should resist all of that.
Yeah, totally.
And this is a stupid way to actually make a career. But the way I look at it is like, you just do what you want to do. And then if you're lucky enough, that catches on and then you get to have a career. But any other way is just creating a complete facsimile that you have to live under for the rest of your life. Like, you have these famous people whose whole brand is not who they are. And then they act who they really are in public one time and they get like canceled because everybody's like, that's not you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, if you just come out from the gate like me, just being a complete fucking disagreeable idiot, if it ever catches on, then it's like, I have nothing to posture about.
Right. You can't facsimile about it at all.
No, it's like this has just been what I've done the whole time.
If you take it and you facsimile it though, like, don't you think it could work out?
I mean, yeah, if I like was more intentional with like what I said and the way, like, if I told jokes that were like more easily agreeable, I could pump out jokes faster, because like I notice like when I write a joke that's not about like a challenging subject matter, that joke can be done in like a week. Right. Where if I write a joke about something that's challenging, it can take months and maybe it'll never end.
You write a lot of facsimiles.
No.
Oh.
I'm speaking truth.
Oh, is that okay?
But I don't know. It's like, it's just weird. You see people like comedy's so stupid and pointless. And then you see people who obviously, I mean, we talked about this. Me and Shane actually talked about this on the last podcast. You see people who do it and they obviously don't like it. And they're just like pretending to be something else. And you're like, what a stupid life. Like you're faking it for a silly thing.
Yeah, but they don't care. Like that's the other thing is like, I always think of it in terms of I've like auditioned for stuff for acting.
Yeah.
I'm just as bad. I can't look down on those people really because it's like that's just as bad. For like if I got some of the if I got like every role I auditioned for, imagine how rightfully angry every actor would be. Where it's like I don't respect acting as a craft.
Yeah.
I literally like go in front of my camera and I go like I can't believe we're at the docks again. And then, like, I send it to some poor casting producer who has to fucking, like, watch it. But it's like, if I got that, I'm doing the same thing, which is just, like, trying to get into a craft for, like, the wrong reasons. Just for, like, a paycheck and notoriety or shit.
Yeah, but it makes me so much sadder that, at least with acting, you are directly pretending to be somebody else. Where there are people in stand-up that are walking through life and the whole thing is an audition. They're just always pretending to be a character of themselves that they made up.
And that's why I say they should crank a few beers before they go on stage. All those people need to start cranking beers.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing is like, obviously, you know, in our friend group, you have like a better routine and a schedule and you prioritize like health and wellness.
Sure.
But you're also an insane person.
Sure.
And we all know that.
Yes.
That's why we hang out with you.
Yeah, just in a different way.
It just most of your insanity gets turned into like, working out kind of insanity.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Like, I've always had like a unhealthy like asceticism, if that's what, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where it's like when I was younger, I always wanted to be a monk, and I would like go outside in my underwear when it was snowing and like just sit in the snow and stuff. Like that was, and like I wouldn't come inside, and I asked my parents to not give me Christmas presents, and like that's my kind of and there's like a bunch of other reasons, and like it did manifest in like an eating disorder later on, which is it can happen.
Of course.
2 guys.
You love suffering.
Oh yeah.
You love it. You take pride in it. Abstinence of worldly desires. That's like your thing.
But I'm always jacking off though. Let me say that. Never abstain from that once.
And that's the human part of you because, of course, you're jacking off a lot. You're a high T guy.
Oh.
So it's like you have all that aestheticism, but then you're alone and you're like, well, if I jack off, nobody fucking knows.
I'm cranking one. Yeah.
It's also, that is the thing with like that kind of life is that like the 100% of that life is almost impossible. Yeah. Where it's like everybody's jacking off.
Yeah, you should have a little bit of that, but also it's like I would never say like if you want to get sober, get sober. But there's some people who are like getting sober and stuff, and that's fine. But it's like, yeah, but what kind of I'm not even one of these people who's like you have to have a vice, but you're just so boring. Like I'm not even going to like pathologize it. It's just there's these boring like. And not even being boring is fine, but they're bored too.
Well, that's because they're not doing what they want to do. Like we were talking about the last podcast, and then I was like watching a video, and I was like listening to some of Ralph Waldo Emerson's essay on self-reliance. And his entire point is just like you have to follow your intuition at all times because you're given this gift of, you know, intuition and what makes you, and when you disavow that, you are not living a life worth living. Where like if you're trying to always, like, you should always be open to change and be open to new ideas, but you need to trust yourself. And if you are seeking like social acceptability and a consistent thought, like a consistent frame of mind, like you're just killing yourself, and you need to constantly like follow and do what you want to do and not let outside influences ruin who you are. And he's like, be open to who you are, like be open to new ideas, but follow what you want to do. And you just see so many people in stand-up and in the world in general that are obviously doing things because they have been told it is the thing to do or because they think it will excel their career. And I just think like, especially in an artistic sense, like that is an affront to life. That's an affront to art. That is an affront to yourself. Like you are killing yourself in the name of nothing, because even if you do follow that path of doing what's acceptable and what will get you famous and you get it, none of it's worth it because it's why do you then all you have is just this surface level thing, like none of it's real, you know what I mean? But it's like if you get to actually try and follow your intuition and stay truthful, and then other people relate to that and accept that, and then you get paid a little money and you're able to live, then that's a beautiful life, because you're showing people honesty and stuff. But if you're living for other people or for other ideas, then you're practically dead. Like,
that's true.
I mean, I think we all have an obligation to follow our intuition and to bring things to conversation and to think about things. And like, that's why I like talking to you. That's why I like talking to Shane. Like, Shane will just come up with a theory. He'll just approach conversations and be like, I was thinking about lying versus truth, you know? And
that's also bad. Like, that's also its own, like, you can go into your own kind of like, yeah, man, we were just talking about other stuff, though. We don't need to come in with it.
Sure. Like, I mean, there's like limits of, you know, bringing.
Well, there's a level of like monopolization of conversation that happens if like that's how you approach it. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
And I think that is like also a big characteristic of a lot of people who, you know, try to think and write in any degree, is like you'll come into a conversation, you're like, and it's like, hey, man, we're trying to.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to start like jacking your own dick off about your own brain, of course. But that's the balance of it, is like, how do you actually appreciate who you are without necessarily thinking you're amazing? It's like, because you already are amazing just by being a unique person with your own ability to think independently. And that's not even a big idea. That's just true, and you can just take that as granted and be grateful for that and nurture it, you know?
Right. Here's one. Do you think if like a dog attacked you, just you and the dog, and you're in like an alleyway, how big of a dog do you think you could stave off? Like, what size? Like golden retriever? Do you think, and I mean this seriously, rabid golden retriever, like this motherfucker's zombie mode? And I hate to paint this picture. Would you be able to kill that golden retriever one-on-one?
I mean, that's a hard question to answer, because there's so many variables of like, that's such like a second by second thing where it's like, if they latch onto my arm, then that's the whole fight.
You're dropping elbows on it?
I would just try and get to its neck and strangle it as quick as possible.
You're gonna guillotine the golden retriever?
Maybe not like maybe just two hands, just hold it. Like if you have your hands are gonna get tired. If you have like a dog on its back, you know,
that's hard to do.
But you just try and strangle it and just try and keep its mouth away from you, because really you just don't want it to bite. Because once it bites, getting it off you, it's like maybe you can put your finger in their ass and that'll open it up.
Wait a minute.
That's literally what they say to do if you have like a pit.
Who says this?
Like dog trainers and shit. Like if your dog is latched, you oil check it. Like, you totally oil check.
You put your finger in its ass?
If it was biting me, yeah, totally.
Damn.
I mean, I'm in a fight with a dog. I'm not going to respect its body. I'm going to fight to the death with the dog.
You should always respect everybody, and I want to say that on the podcast.
Not if it's trying to kill you.
And I need you to. And you've been doing a lot of talking, and I need you to listen.
We have been talking equally,
and you've been doing a lot of talking.
It's been equal conversation.
And I just want to say this: everybody I respect. And I respect everybody, and I respect everybody.
Yeah, but if somebody trying to kill you is not respecting your body. You don't have to... Like, if somebody's trying to kill you, you don't have to be like, hey, I'm not going to fight you. I respect your body. It doesn't make any sense.
That's the thing. I would go, can I defend myself? I would go, excuse me, would it be comfortable for you if I fucking punched you right in the face right now?
Okay, well, if somebody asked me that while I'm trying to kill him, I'd say no. If those are the rules they're playing...
throw you off. I actually think if you started using, like, really highfalutin, like, you know... What's like therapy language with someone who is attacked? Like if someone was getting really mad at you, like in your face, like fuck you, you fucking pussy, I'll beat the shit out of you. If I went like, do I have consent to punch you in the face right now?
Well, have you been using that language to get them angry to begin with? Because if they're angry because of the use of that language, that's just going to get you more killed. But if you've been angry at them the whole time and then you switch it up, I honestly don't think it's going to work very well. I think even if you switch it up...
They're angry because I've been oil checking their dog.
Yeah. I think it'll be a pretty transparent, obvious thing. It's kind of the same as being like, why are you yelling in the middle of a fight? People are like, because we're fighting. That's why I'm yelling. What do you mean?
A guy turns around and your thumb is in his dog's ass and you were like, he was attacking me.
Just add a dog park. You have no dog. Yeah. You're just two fingers deep in a dog. He was attacking me.
Your finger.
Not even a thumb.
You're like, your dog's a slut, dude.
And the dog's just kind of breathing heavy, facing the other way. Like, doesn't even care. Doesn't even give a fuck.
Kind of excited about it.
Yeah, it's not really hating it. But definitely, if a dog was biting me, I'd go straight to its asshole. Because it scares them. They go, and then they open their mouth. And then at that point, you try and uppercut them to
Oh, you punch the dog after you fucking...
If a dog's trying to kill me, I'm trying to kill the dog. That's an easy decision for me.
I feel like there's still protocols to love and war.
I don't care. It's a dog.
I try to be honorable.
There's no honor in a dog trying to kill you.
Not
There's
for
no
you.
honor in anybody trying to just murder you.
Not for you, dude.
I just don't. Also, like a dog, it's not like with a human, at least you can kind of come to an agreement, like after a lot of fighting, where you'd be like, all right, are we done? A dog's not going to be like, all right, good one. A dog's like, I'm going to fight you till you die.
I was at the Muay Thai gym today, and I've gotten good. Here's what I've gotten good at with Muay Thai. I'm still really bad at it. I'm still completely uncoordinated. I still flinch all the time. But the one thing I'm good at is now I know how to find the guys who will beat the shit out of me. Like I can spot them. And I think that's a really good skill that's underrated.
That you know who can beat the fuck out of you.
If there's a guy and he is wearing any sort of anime apparel, double this if it's anime that you've never heard of, that guy is going to fuck you up in a way that you didn't even know was possible.
Don't you think there is a spectrum, though, of anime t-shirt guys? Because some of those guys are...
So, yes, but not in a Muay Thai gym. There is a spectrum of those guys.
You're talking about in the gym.
The kind of guys who will wear... the kind of guys at a Muay Thai gym who also wear anime shit.
Yeah.
That guy will rip your face off.
Yeah, they're probably like taking virtues from the anime.
That's exactly what it is. They do nothing outside of the gym other than like essentially read stories and parables about how you should like never quit. Never give up.
They eat chicken and rice and they believe in Super Saiyan powers.
The dude I was with today, he was wearing an anime shirt of this anime. I don't know what it's called, but it said Axeman on it.
Okay, that's tough.
And he was doing this thing where he would beat me up, and then I would think that I hit him on purpose, and he'd be like, "Yeah, that's what I wanted you to go for." Like he would just leave openings for me to hit him, and then he'd go back to beating the shit. He just had to feel something.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of guys in the gym that are just looking to feel.
And you're saying I should have put a thumb in his ass?
Definitely. I have to pee, and we'll cut this out.
We'll cut it out. No, let me keep going here. Yeah. So anyway, okay, good. Cooper's gone. I just wanted to say real quick, you might not think I'm being very funny on this podcast, and I understand that. I've been thinking about it too, but I just want to say that I've been inhibited by the fact that Cooper's apartment smells so distinctly like something was burnt. And the ventilation in here it's bad. And so the whole time, this is like, I'm podcasting in smog. Do you understand? It's like a thick layer of smog, and I'm trying to do jokes. I'm trying to be funny. I'm trying to be silly. But I'm also fighting a battle against the chicken or whatever Cooper, the chicken Cooper half cooked before shrugging his shoulders and just gritting the pink meal in his teeth. Hey, what's up, buddy?
You've had a lot of people have walked into this apartment and been like, it's really smoky in here. It's really smoky.
Do you think maybe that's a statement on your cooking things a little bit too heavily?
Just still learning how to use a stainless steel pan.
Right.
Do you cook on stainless steel?
No.
It's tough.
Okay.
It's not easy.
I use whatever the thing that gives you cancer is.
Yeah, I'm trying to get away from that. So I cook on stainless steel.
That's fair.
And it's a fun thing. You would actually love it. It's kind of up your alley because it's a challenge.
Okay.
And you'll be surprised how...
I'm not in for every challenge. That's the thing. It's like I like the challenges that I like. There's a lot of challenges.
But it makes cooking, you feel like a chef too because it's stainless steel.
Do you feel like a chef when you cook?
Everything sticks to it.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
Do you go in there and and I want you to be honest with me, are you like, I'm kind of making art?
No. I like the thing of like you accept that you're not that good at it, but if you just attempt, you'll come out with food and the food is edible.
Okay.
That feels good. It's like the same way. It's like sometimes you edit a clip and then you're just sort of like chopping it up really sloppily, and you're like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But like eventually you end up with a clip. It's a good like meditation in like I'm saying, life is about the attempt. You start off with being like, perfection is impossible. I am not Gordon Ramsay, but I am a man with a stainless steel pan in a studio apartment, and I give 100% to that attempt. You just go for it, You do stuff that you don't know if it makes sense. I chop up onions. I put them in the middle of hash browns. I never taste the onions. I don't know.
Gordon Ramsay in a fight?
Gosh, I mean, he works out.
Yeah,
he's like
older.
He is healthier than me, but he is older.
He's probably never trained. You've trained.
He might train, actually. I don't know. I could see him as a guy that is trained.
No, there's no.
He's a chef. Chefs are inherently violent.
Yeah, but here's the thing about a lot of chefs, and I'm going to get some flack for this.
Please.
And the bear, by the way, unfortunately plays into this unfortunate stereotype.
Yeah.
A chef, for some reason, chefs think they're tough.
Yeah.
Because they cook food. And it's like, there's a lot of people who, because we don't live in a culture or society where people fist fight a lot, right? And that's a good thing. And by the way, I haven't been in a lot of fist fights. But they're chefs and people who were born in like the baby boomer generation or whatever. They all think that they're tough because of that.
Yeah.
No, you have to also be like, it's not an equivalent thing.
I think chefs think they're tough because they work at a job where it's fine to yell at people.
Yes, that's exactly why.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's exact. They work a job where they're able to like yell at people, and that fucking whatever gets their testosterone going or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, man, you're standing at a fucking stove all day.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
I mean, it's a good example of like how we've kind of exited the animal world. So versions of toughness are just based in like social norms.
Yeah.
Where it's like most jobs you go to, you can't be like, what the fuck was that, you dumbass? But in a kitchen, you can.
It's the same thing. Like baby boomers and stuff, they think they're tough. It's like, no, you just own a house.
It's the same thing why like comedians think they're tough, because like at a comedy club, like working at the door at the Comedy Store is like you can talk to each other kind of however you want, because there's like not a lot of social
I don't
rules.
see that quite as like, I think
you don't see it as much with comedians because you're constantly reminded you're a loser. With chefs are like, I'm a badass. But yeah, they're all just guys that cook. Like the funniest thing about
they're all just guys that cook.
They're guys that cook.
They're guys that cook.
Yeah.
And they probably have good forearm muscles because they use tongs a lot.
Yeah, they usually have good and there's also, they're just getting steamed all day.
These motherfuckers, and not that, by the way, this isn't about you, but there's people who think they're tough just because they're angry.
Yeah,
and
totally.
they yell a lot, and like because there aren't a lot of people that will like challenge you, like most of the time when you get really angry and yell at even a stranger, they'll just be like, well, that's crazy, and they'll walk away.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, there's people who think they're tough because they're angry.
Yeah, like a chef's view on themselves is, I am tough because I yell at people.
I yell at people and they take it, and therefore I am tough.
Yeah, and it's like, well, the people taking it are sous chefs that you pay. Yeah. You're actually paying to yell at people. Yeah. You literally, like, if I had enough money, I could pay a guy $300 a day, and I could call him a dumbass.
You could do more than that to him,
and
too.
he wouldn't say anything back to me.
You pick him up on certain streets in Los Angeles, you could do a lot more than that.
Yeah, and chefs just happen to have that guy also cook food.
Right.
So they're like, well, no, he's. I mean, it's always the same thing where like working in this kitchen is like, and it is funny because like there are certain jobs like my brother works on fishing boats. That's a job where people are really mean to each other. But it's also a legitimately hard job. Like, they have to wake up really early in the morning. It's fucking cold. It's like physical labor all day. And then also you yell at each other. Those guys are tough.
Right.
Like my brother working on a crab boat where you have to carry the pots yourself in the middle of like icy waters.
Right.
Is a tough job, and they yell at each other. Chefs only do the yelling part and think they're just as tough as the crab guys. Yeah. And it's like, no, you're not the same as actual tough jobs.
They're doing like, by the way, being a chef, impressive. It's really technical work. You have to, like, a lot of experience goes into it. You need to be really focused. Isn't that enough? Isn't it enough? But like, and it's almost the same as like, isn't it enough to just be a good stand-up comedian? Isn't it enough to just be like, you can be funny and go into a room and make people laugh? Do we need to add to that.
I think it's the same as how, like, guys that have been to war and killed somebody don't brag about it, but guys that never went talk about it a lot. And it's the same as, like, chefs that are doing a modicum of labor feel more exhausted than a guy who does actual labor. Like, the fisherman will not be like, ugh, you don't understand what I go through, because he's exhausted.
Well, they do sometimes.
But it's also like, when you have a really hard job, you're just sort of like, ugh, God, that was exhausting. But then chefs are like, ugh, the dinner rush. You could never understand the dinner rush.
That was
and it's like, there are guys that work on oil rigs that complain less than you, but you complain more because you haven't actually done the...
That's why Gordon Ramsay, like the Hell's Kitchen stuff, it's like, it sells the show that he's like really mean and yelling at people, but it's like, the end game of this is some like rich dipshit gets like, you know, fake tartare. That's the, like, all this yelling is going into a moron financial advisor getting a souffle. Yeah. Who gives a fuck?
It doesn't matter.
Fuck that guy who's getting that meal. It's like, that's what's so funny about that is, like, I think he yells and stuff to give meaning to this thing where if you're working at a fine dining restaurant, you're serving food to people who not only does that meal not mean a lot to them, nothing really means a lot to them anymore. Like, it's whatever to them.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. It's like you're trying to add meaning because you're serving the most apathetic class of people that could ever exist.
Right.
That you're like, well, yeah, it is so funny to like pretend to fucking like punch a sous chef and be like, I'll fucking kill you. And then it just goes out to a guy and he's like, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, well, I love the other idea where it's like, I'm yelling at you because these people are paying a ton of money for this food and blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but they didn't earn it. Like, most of the people buying food at the fine dining restaurants that, like, whatever Gordon Ramsay is proposing to yell at people at, like, they did a crypto scam and now they're eating at a fine dining restaurant.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like, the only working class person this occasion is getting, like, fucking elbowed in the back of the head by Gordon Ramsay because they're not doing it good enough.
And those people only care about the money they spent when they, like, hate the food. It's not like when they like the food, they're like, all my hard-earned money went into this food. They're just like, oh, this is what I deserve because I'm better and I'm rich. Like, they're just proving to themselves that they're rich, and it doesn't...
Right.
And the funny thing is, it's like, it just happens in all kitchens. Like, they'll do that at, like, a country club where they're like, these people fucking... It's like, this guy's getting a BLT after...
This guy's getting a BLT
He's not even talking about the food.
Yeah.
Like, you're yelling at a sous chef, and then the food comes to the table, and the food is not even mentioned.
They don't even eat it most of the time.
They eat, like, 2 bites.
It's just, like, there, They just order 12 things off the menu to show off for the 20-year-old that they're trying to bang.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, that's all they're doing at the country club.
It's like a rich thing to eat really nice food and then not have much to say about it.
You need to make this souffle perfect because this guy is trying to cheat on his wife.
Yeah.
And this lady needs to be impressed by him because he's really fucking ugly.
Yeah. And then it's like, who does care about it? Is like a New York Times food reviewer that's like trying to describe fucking the food, pretty much. Just like, oh, if I could suck this food's dick, I would.
Off this food, I would make love to it.
I mean, everything's just pointless. Like, it's just, I don't know. I think about that a lot because, like, with my new job of on the street fundraising, people would be like, why don't you get a real job? And I realize
people say that to you.
Yeah, if they're mad at us.
That's insane.
I realize people will say that and they feel right about that because our job does not contribute to the economy. We're raising money for charity.
Well, but in a roundabout, like, not to whatever, but like if you have like a good safety net, whether it be a social safety net or like from charitable organizations, like the economy does run better because like, groups who are vulnerable get help, and then that means that they're able to like better contribute to whatever.
Yeah, but we don't make a direct cash transaction of like a coffee shop of like, you give money to this boosts this business, you are part of the economy. People don't realize how beholden to capitalism they are because they see us and they're like, this is pointless because it's not directly fueling the economy, And so people just, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, it's like people, they value, it's so funny because people value a barista so much more and be like, oh yeah, that's a real hard worker. And it's like, it's just somebody else working for a fucking company. You know what I mean?
It's all people working for companies.
Yeah, it's like no work. It's like, do you think it would be better if I was contributing to a major business or something? Like, do you really believe that? You know what I mean? But it's like, Yeah, it's this weird thing.
You should be raising money for big businesses.
Would you like to take the Burns anxiety inventory? You asked about it before the show.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll actually tell you the scores that me and Shane got after. We had very different scores. Okay, so this goes through just certain symptoms of anxiety, and then you will answer on a scale of 0 to 4 of how much you feel those. 0 being not at all, 1 being somewhat, 2 being moderately, and 3 being a lot. Sorry, it's 0 to 3.
0 to 3.
Okay, so anxiety, nervousness, worry, or fear. 0 to 3.
Oh, like that I feel?
Yeah.
Say those again.
Anxiety, nervousness, worry, or fear.
I give it like a 2.
You give a 2. So that's moderately. You might
yeah.
be more somewhat. Okay, I'm not trying to impact your answers.
I'd go 2.
Okay.
I get nervous a lot.
Okay, good. Feeling that things around you are strange, unreal, or foggy.
Oh, 0.
Okay. Feeling detached from all or part of your body.
0.
Okay. Sudden, unexpected panic spells.
What's a panic spell?
I don't think it's like a panic attack.
You're going to piss your pants.
Yeah, like, like you're just kind of chilling and then you're like, oh, fuck. Like, kind of like that.
I'd give it maybe a 1 because maybe I've had those here or there.
Okay. Yeah, so that would be somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Apprehension or a sense of impending doom.
0.
Okay.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, this is like during the past week. Sorry, I didn't mention.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's what I...
Yeah, wait.
How much is it symptom or problem?
Sorry, I didn't know it was past week.
That was my mistake.
Put everything at 0.
Everything at 0. So no anxiety, nervousness, worry, or fear this week?
Okay, put that at 1. Put that at 1 and everything else at 0.
We'll put that at 1. Yeah. We'll cross that out. We'll put the panic spell at 0. Okay, apprehension or a sense of impending doom?
At 0.
Okay, so that's a 0. Feeling tense, stressed, uptight, or on edge?
I guess 0, kind of.
Okay.
That's the past week, yeah.
Okay. Difficulty concentrating?
1.
Okay. Racing thoughts or having your mind jump from one thing to the next?
Isn't that just thinking?
Now, that is a very telling response.
I mean, having your thoughts jump from one thing to the next.
Racing, though, like, you're kind of like moving real fast.
0.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not moving very fast. It's moving damn slow, I'll be honest with you.
Frightening fantasies or daydreams?
Frightening?
Yeah, like, I can see that. Like, a lot of, like, I said a lot because I oftentimes make up horrific scenarios of things that could happen.
Things that can happen? I guess 0.
Okay. Feeling that you're on the verge of losing control?
Oh, 0.
Okay. Fears of cracking up or going crazy?
0.
Okay.
Well, maybe, I don't know. I've talked to myself, and when I talk to myself, sometimes I go like, oh, damn, are you going crazy? But it's not real. Like, I don't really feel that way.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess we could say, yeah. Fears of fainting or passing out?
0.
Okay. Fears of physical illness or heart attacks or dying?
Sometimes I get afraid. 1. I go 1 because sometimes I get afraid of getting a heart attack because my dad had one.
Sure.
So like when I get like a little bubble in my chest, I'm like,
Sure. Concerns about looking foolish or inadequate in front of others?
Maybe 1.
Okay.
But not really. Dude, at the taping yesterday, I felt like the fucking man. I felt so sick.
Oh, good. Yeah, I mean, because you're on the road so much, I feel like that really. Nice. I think that really helped.
It's the first time I've ever gone to a show with stakes where I'm like, I am so prepared for this. I don't need to worry.
That's what it's all about.
Oh, great.
That's how everybody comic wants to feel, and then they never fucking leave the city, and then all they have are those showcases, and they freak out.
Right.
Fears of being alone, isolated, or abandoned?
Maybe 1.
Okay.
I'm alone a lot.
Okay. Fears of criticism or disapproval?
1.
Okay.
1. Yeah.
Fears that something terrible is about to happen?
0.
Okay.
Terrible. Yeah, no, I'm fine.
Okay, this last ones, these are physical symptoms. Skipping or racing or pounding of the heart, sometimes called palpitations?
0.
Okay. Pain, pressure, or tightness in the chest?
0.
Okay. Tingling or numbness in the toes or fingers?
0.
Okay. Butterflies or discomfort in the stomach?
0.
Constipation or diarrhea?
0. Oh, I'm shitting like a fucking train. Dude.
I've been shitting good this week, too.
Oh, yeah.
Restlessness or jumpiness?
0.
Okay. Tight, tense muscles?
0.
Sweating not brought on by heat?
0.
That's a very funny sentence.
That's a really funny one.
I get that in my hands a lot.
Yeah, you do.
A little bit right now. A lump in the throat?
0.
Trembling or shaking?
0.
Rubbery or, quote, jelly legs?
I mean, when I'm dancing, dude, when I'm on the fucking floor.
Have you danced this week?
Think. 0.
Oh, fuck. Feeling dizzy, lightheaded, or off balance?
0.
Choking or something, or smothering sensations or
0.
difficulty breathing? Okay. Headaches or pains in the neck or back?
0.
Hot flashes or cold chills?
Actually, after I deadlift, I had like a back strain, but I don't think that counts.
Yeah, that's just because of the lifting.
Yeah.
Hot flashes or cold chills?
0.
Okay. Feeling tired, weak, or easily exhausted?
0.
Okay, let's round up your scores. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
5.
6. Okay, so you got a 6.
Okay.
So the way this is scored is 0 to 4 is minimal or no anxiety.
Yeah.
5 to 10 is borderline anxiety.
Okay.
So you would be considered borderline anxiety.
Really? Yeah, I guess because it's an anxious job.
Yeah, I think you
know?
have things that are stressing you out.
Yeah.
So I got a 38. So the way this is scored,
Wait, you got a 38?
I got a 38. That's what I scored myself. 31 to 50 is considered severe anxiety.
Right.
Shane scored an 80, which is considered extreme anxiety or panic. And it goes up to 99. So you got a 6 out of 99. I got a 38.
Shane's
out of
almost
99.
got a perfect score.
Shane almost got a perfect score.
What do we do for Shane? Do we get him like a massage or something?
No. It's just a slow process of
therapy, maybe though.
Yeah, therapy would help.
Yeah,
We've talked about that on the podcast.
I mean, what is his take? He doesn't have enough money. He
he
has enough money to spend $2,000 at a strip club, but not enough to go to therapy.
I think he's open to therapy. I think it's the same as a lot of people where it's sort of not first priority. He's also he's a young man in the midst of trying to build a career, so you have certain mental health issues that you are able to cope with enough to move through life, but they're still there. So it's like, I think for the most part, he still goes out, he writes a lot, he does a lot of stand-up, he makes a lot of friends, so he still functions enough.
Right.
Because of the very effective, albeit surface level coping he does.
Sure.
To sort of keep the issues he has at bay. But that being said, those issues still can manifest physically.
That's
stuff
where
like
I'm
that.
worried about his damn physical being too.
There's some stomach issues.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, there's some stomach
What's
issues.
going on with the heart? Is the heart okay?
I mean, I think his answers for, I'm trying to remember which. I think
you know what I think offsets a lot of his physical problems is that he smokes 2,000 cigarettes a day.
Well, that's a thing. If you a lot of those mental problems then will lead to use of certain substances, which also, credit where it's due, he's fully sober besides nicotine.
I think I'm going to smoke a cigarette soon.
I mean, they're great,
Would I get sick from smoking one if I just ripped one?
Yeah, probably. I mean,
I get a little sick.
I mean, they're bad for
what if
you.
I did half a cigarette?
You just wouldn't like it.
You don't think so?
I don't think you would enjoy it at all.
But it would make my voice kind of low and raspy, and that'd be cool.
Not really, just one.
But if I did it if I did half a cigarette every other day,
I don't think that would have much of an effect.
God, I'm just trying to get lower.
I don't think you would enjoy it. I mean, because it's you enjoy doing things that are good for your body, and I think you've worked pretty hard to...
Kind of, sort of, but I also, I got kicked in the knee really hard today. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think that's related to the suffering aspect. Where at least getting kicked in the knee is getting you better at fighting. So you'll suffer to reach an end.
I'm so scared of getting beat up. I like going to the gym just to feel what it's like and to be I can kind of survive this.
Yeah. Shane
got an 80 what?
He got an 80. Just an 80. There's actually, this is only 15 questions. This is a depression checklist. We can do this real quick. If
Oh, yeah,
like.
yeah.
Okay,
this
great.
This one we might get a higher score on.
Fucking hopefully. All right. We'll start off.
Yeah.
Okay, so the following is a list of symptoms that people sometimes have. Put a check in the space to the right that best describes how much that symptom or problem has bothered you during the past week.
Great.
So same thing, 0 to 3, 0 not at all, 1 somewhat, 2 moderately, 3 a lot.
This last week.
The past week. Great. So sadness. Have you been feeling sad or down in the dumps?
No.
Okay, so 0. Not at all. Discouragement. Does the future look hopeless?
0.
Okay. Low self-esteem. Do you feel worthless or think of yourself as a failure?
0.
Okay. Inferiority. Do you feel inadequate or inferior to others?
0.
Okay. Guilt. Do you get self-critical and blame yourself for everything?
Do I get self-critical and 0, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, I'm self-critical.
I think there's a healthy and an unhealthy version.
Yeah.
You know,
no,
I think.
Yeah, no.
I think there's a difference between checking yourself and kind of personalizing.
And wrecking yourself.
That's a very good way of saying it. Yeah. Nobody's ever said it that way. Indecisiveness. Do you have trouble making up your mind about things?
0.
Okay. Irritability and frustration.
0.
Have you been feeling resentful and angry a good deal of the time?
No.
Okay. Loss of interest in life. Have you lost interest in your career, your hobbies, your family, or your friends?
All of those things. I'll say this. Very interested in all of them.
Okay. Wonderful. That's great. Loss of motivation. Do you feel overwhelmed and have to push yourself hard to do things?
No.
Okay. Poor self-image. Do you think you're looking old or unattractive?
I think I look so good recently.
I mean, you do,
and dude. I've been bulking up, and I used to think if I gained any weight, I would be like really self-conscious about it. Dude, 2 Bills Donnie.
You just got even happier.
I love 2 Bills Donnie.
Yeah,
I do 2 Bills Donnie walking around. I got a little shoulder pad now.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, come on.
Well, that's wonderful. Appetite changes. Have you lost your appetite, or do you overeat?
Fuck no.
Okay, you don't overeat or binge compulsively? Okay. Sleep changes. Do you suffer from insomnia and find it hard to get a good night's sleep, or are you excessively tired and sleeping too much?
So I've been waking up at like 5 a.m. Like I go to bed at like midnight or 1, and I've been waking up at 5 a.m. quite a bit, but then I JO, and then I go back to sleep.
Okay, so you wouldn't say you find it hard to get a good night's sleep. We could say somewhat. I don't want to impact your answers, though.
Let's go somewhat. Yeah.
Okay, if that's how you feel. I don't want to. Loss of libido. Have you lost your interest in sex? Hell no. Okay. Hypochondriasis. Do you worry a great deal about your health?
I don't know what's going on with me, but I feel, going back to the last thing, I feel as though, and not to, say what you will about talking to your boy about your own virility. I feel like at 29 going into 30, I've never been more.
So you feel good. You don't have any hypochondriasis.
No.
We'll say not at all.
My cock's been...
That's wonderful. That's that's all you want. Okay, last question. Suicidal impulses. Do you have thoughts that life is not worth living or think that you might be better off dead?
What if with that one I was like, every hour?
That would be badass. Frankly, to struggle with none of this, but also...
None of this would be like, I'm still probably going to do it.
To be crushing it, but it's kind of like Hunter S. Thompson, where he was like, I'm ready to die now.
I'm just ready.
Okay, I'm going to assume a 0. Okay.
Score is 0 on everything? Oh,
no.
I got a 1.
You got, let's just to be sure, you got a 1.
Damn.
So you got a 1. So the way it's scored is 0 to 4 is minimal or no depression, so that's you. I scored a 34, so that would be in the 31 to 45 range. That is severe depression, so that's the last. That is the winner's circle.
Isn't it great that we're still friends?
I got a 34. Oh, it's wonderful. Shane got a 37, so he is also in the severe depression. So
I didn't even know that was possible.
Me and Shane are 34 and 37. That is the podcast.
This is what's good is that like I like taking that test because in my day-to-day, like, I think no matter who you are, it's like, even if you're perfectly healthy, if you don't go to a doctor in a long time, like, you don't get a little check on what's going on, you're like, oh, maybe there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
But to do that, I'm like, Baby, we're cruising.
Well, that's kind of what this whole book, like the way you're supposed to read this book is it's a workbook. So you're supposed to take this test every week, and it helps you get a handle on your mental health.
I have such an opposite experience with a lot of comics because I'm constantly, the only thing I've like kind of come to terms with as I get older is like, damn, my parents crushed it.
You think they did a great job?
Because like when you're a little fucking like, you know, whiny like 20-year-old or whatever, you're like, my parents could have done better. Like, duh, they could have done better. But dude, I look back on like when you look at the important things about parenting, it basically like the two sides, and this could be, if you're a parent, fucking correct me on this, but it seems like covering the basic needs like food, water, shelter, like making sure, and then the second thing is pretty much like love and instilling values.
Yeah.
And a lot of parents, I feel, pick one or the other on those two. You know what I mean? Like, strict parents go with instilling values, but they forget about the love. And there's certain parents who are just like, you just have to love your kid, but then they're like a dipshit who doesn't have any like moral foundation or whatever.
Yeah.
My parents crushed it on both.
You have a pretty good work ethic. Where's that from?
Mom. I don't know.
Was that just looking at what she did, or would she tell you things?
She would read me. Do you know who Horatio Alger is?
No.
And she didn't do this with my sister, which is hilarious. Horatio Alger is like probably the pinnacle author of like the American Dream novel. Okay. Like he had the series of books called Ragged Dick, which is so funny.
Okay.
But it's about a guy who like went from being a shoe shiner to like owning a business or whatever. It's so just like nakedly pro-capitalist and like if you just work hard, it doesn't matter who you are. And it's like, I think he was a white guy though, so that kind of throws a little. He had a little bit of a, you know,
not bad for a little kid though.
Yeah. So like when I read that, or like my mom would just read that to me and try to like make me into sort of like a like fucking, you just work hard and everything fucking works out for you.
I think that worked out for you, yeah, because I think you have a pretty good work ethic, but then you also understand that we do live in a bit of the American dream is a lie. So you kind of get to have both, where you're like, well, it is a lie, but also it doesn't mean you working hard won't help you.
Here's the funny thing about the American dream is it's a lie for most people.
Yeah.
This is the thing that like is I might sound wrong to everyone when I say this, but it's like the thing that keeps the American dream going is that sometimes it does work out.
Totally.
But that's the exception, and people see that as the rule.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People think it's the rule that no matter what, if you like work hard and eat shit your whole fucking life, like something good is going to happen as long as you stay moral and say your prayers and all that stuff. And it's like, that's not true, because we obviously see so many people who slip through the cracks, and so many people on the opposite end who are completely amoral, do not work hard, game the system, and like scam essentially capitalism into their way of success. But every now and again, and those are the people that they love to, it's like when you win like people think they have a better chance of winning the lottery because you only hear about people who win the lottery.
Yeah.
If it wasn't exceptional that the American dream works out, then why do we have to highlight every time it actually does?
Yeah. Well, yeah, people think those exceptions prove the American dream when really they prove that it is a lie. Because the way, you know, with capitalism, most people are not capitalists, they're workers. And there's a select, usually, like we say, 1% of capitalists. Right. There's owners. And people buy into it thinking, like, one day I'll get to be a capitalist. But if we're all capitalists, there's no workers to do the work for the companies.
I guess I'm saying that in terms of ideology, not in terms of, like, your station.
But that ideology is directly related to that station. You know what I mean? Where people are like, one day I will rise and become a capitalist. And it's like, but if you all did that, our very economic system would crumble, because then nobody's the workers. Right. So it's like our system relies on keeping people in poverty, making sure they have a lot of kids that go on to be uneducated, that work in those same factories. So people need to keep believing that they will be an exception.
Right.
But it has to be an exception. If it was not an exception, then the whole system doesn't work. It actually thrives on poverty. It thrives on continued poverty for generations.
It's also like, I add the caveat of like, it's so much easier to teach a kid that like the world is fair and everything will work out when you're growing up in a place where people aren't like getting shot or
totally.
like, you know, getting robbed all the time even.
Yeah.
I think if you grow up in a place like that, like people are always like, oh, well, like, you know, it's like a chicken egg situation when it comes to values. But I think when it comes to instilling values in someone, at least like the values that we hold sacred or whatever, it's not that you can't, but it's so much harder to try to make a kid believe if you work hard, things will work out for you. If you're living around a bunch of fucking people where things worked out for them.
Yeah.
But how the fuck are you going to tell a kid if you work hard, things are going to work out for them when they're in a fucking area where everybody is struggling? The few people that do have money got it through ill-gotten gains, and it's like, that's not even necessarily their fault. It's just like, if you grow up in that fucking system, how are you going to do anything else?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like, how are you going to tell that kid everything's fair when they're getting fucking robbed on their way back from school, you know?
And that's what I'm talking about with that like free will book, is like you have to be cognizant of the environment that created you, where there's a lot of people that are like, you just got to believe in hard work. It's like, well, you don't realize you believe in that because you were born into a system where that belief was actually supported.
I've totally come
where
around
you got to
this
see
too.
evidence of it. A lot of people don't have evidence of it.
Because I've always been like, it's always been like banging my head against the wall when it comes to like people around me, and I'm like, well, why don't you just work harder? Like, why don't you just work harder? Why don't you just work harder? Why don't you just work harder? And I've kind of come around to it where I realize like people aren't fucking stupid. Like, we love to think people are stupid.
Yeah.
People aren't stupid. People know what's going on. So if you're not stupid and you know that working hard would get you somewhere and you're still not doing it, well then that doesn't mean that you're bad or whatever. There's just like a block between it that I can't even fathom.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't be like, oh, just work harder. I should be like, oh, well, what's stopping you from working hard? That's the real important question. Not that you should ask that question, but that's kind of like the question to keep in mind.
Yeah. I mean, it's either depression or information you've gotten from growing up, and there's tons of reasons.
Even like more simple, it's just like a blockage in your own fucking brain where it's like, you know, maybe you have like trauma around like focus or whatever, and you're not able to focus for a very long time, and that's required for hard work, just to fucking focus.
Yeah,
that's some shit too. Where like, and I know this from being in special ed, but it's like when it even with adults there, they would just be like, no, just focus, and it's like,
yeah,
it's literally like going up to somebody who can't jump very high and being like, just fucking dunk.
Yeah, it's a person's...
put the ball... It's simple.
Yeah.
You take the ball and you put it in the hoop. Look, I'll do it. And then they dunk.
Yeah.
And it's like, why can't you do this?
Yeah. Well, that's what's annoying about people who, as Kamala said, think they fell out of a coconut tree. Where it's like, no, you're the creation of everything that's ever happened to you. So whatever you do is because of everything that's ever happened to you. And whatever somebody else does is because of that. All right, I need to piss horribly.
Yeah, you want to call the pod?
This has been a wonderful episode. Do you have anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, the solo works of Michael McDonald, his breakout album, If That's What It Takes. It was released, I think, in the 70s or 80s. It's really, really good. It's a picture of him on the cover. It has a lot of just really great, even the B-side tracks on this are incredible. Listen to the title track, If That's What It Takes. It's an American classic.
Okay. You can follow him at ft.Dan on Twitter and check out Michael McDonald.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you so much.